Impact segment tonight. While the USA still has major problems on its southern border, the crisis is much more intense in Europe these days. Over the weekend, Italy rescued about 8,500 migrants from dangerous vessels crossing the Mediterranean Sea, trying to smuggle folks onto the continent. Desperate migrants trying to escape Africa and the Middle East are straining the capacities of some European nations. In response, Pope Francis is speaking out. Quote, "They are men and women like us, our brothers seeking a better life, starving, persecuted, wounded, exploited, victims of war. They were looking for a better life." The Pope urging compassion. Now, why is this happening? Simple reason is a breakdown of order in the entire world. And a more complicated scenario is that America has abdicated its leadership abroad, causing mass chaos in countries like Libya, Syria, and Iraq. Joining us now from Washington, Mary Catherine Ham and Juan William, both are Fox News analysts. So, Juan, we also should say that there were hundreds of people who died over the weekend, that the Italians couldn't rescue all of them, because there's so many coming over from North Africa, particularly Libya, that you can't regulate it. And once they get to Italy, they have to be provided with services. Very few of them are sent back. So, do you see that the USA not providing leadership anymore overseas is participating in this?
Well, I think we clearly provided leadership when we supported the demise of Gaddafi, who I think was a despicable despot and a threat. Someone who had taken out Pan Am 103 over Scotland, if you'll recall, Bill. So he was not a good guy. That was clearly an American effort, but the failure, I would argue...
Wait, Juan. I mean, it was a NATO effort, and President Obama made it clear that he didn't want to take the lead on it. But here, you think that was good leadership when you get rid of Gaddafi and you put in nothing? Why didn't NATO troops... why didn't NATO troops go into Libya and regulate what was happening? That would have been leadership.
We're on the same path. But are you for nation building? Are we supposed to go in and repair everything? Why couldn't the Libyans take care of building their own country?
Because they're in chaos. They don't know what they're doing.
Well, there we go.
Well, NATO
are we supposed to send foreign aid, military? We're supposed to build their country for them?
No, Juan. If NATO's going to kill Gaddafi and overthrow the regime, and I think Mary Catherine will agree with me, then NATO has a responsibility to put peacekeepers in there to see that there isn't ISIS, Al-Qaeda, and a mass slaughter. That's leadership, Juan. What do you say, Mary Catherine?
Yeah, look, I think, Juan references perhaps Iraq obliquely when he says, like, we have made this mistake before where you knock somebody out and you don't really have a plan for what to put in there. We made that mistake temporarily and climbed back out of that, and by 2011 had a more stable Middle East. I think the issue here is maybe not so much what President Obama does or doesn't do, but there isn't a real vision here. The object seems to be on foreign policy, survive from day to day politically, and that does not lead to great outcomes, and it leads to us abdicating our obligation to lead in the world and ameliorate these issues.
It's more than that. America is the moral leader of the world, all right? Okay. And has been since World War II. President Obama doesn't want that mantle, doesn't want to do it.
No, I think you're right.
So therefore, he pulls out of Iraq all U.S. soldiers, and what happens? Iraq descends into civil war chaos and a terrorism haven. They remove Gaddafi, and what happens? The terrorists move in. He threatens Syria, but he won't remove Assad, and what happens? The terrorists move in. You sense a pattern here, Juan?
Well, and what happened with Syria, by the way?
Juan. You sense a pattern?
You guys, you are making it so politicized. Remember, it was Cheney who said we were going to be greeted as conquerors in Iraq. Well, guess what?
There's no leader now. There's no leader that's going to promote stability in the world. So therefore, all these people are going to come to Europe and the United States to save their lives.
We thought we were promoting democracy. We were promoting an Arab Spring. And remember, it was Colin Powell who warned the Pottery Barn rule. If you break it, well, then you own it. And that's what has happened in many of these countries. But why shouldn't they take care of themselves?
Why? President Obama's policy is disengagement. Pull away. Get out. Sure it is. Get out.
No, it's not. It's
and this is
you
what
take care of your house. It's you. Look, we'll come in as a cop when necessary, and we'll throw out the bad guys.
You don't have to come in as a cop.
We're not going to take care of your whole family forever.
You have to lead the world in trying to promote stability. He isn't, and you're seeing what's happening. Last word, Mary Catherine.
Yeah, I think you're right, Bill, that he's uncomfortable with that role for America and for American power, and these are the results. I am not saying that bad things don't just happen in foreign policy. That's what the administration will say. The world's complicated. Bad stuff happens. Sure, there's a middle ground where you don't have to be on the ground nation building everywhere,
right.
but you can fix some of these problems or find a middle ground. One might be, for instance, leaving troops on the ground in 2011 instead of completely pulling out of Iraq and leaving a very unstable situation that degraded into this.
NATO could have gone into Libya and put in stability and protection for a temporary reign. And the UN.
Temporary?
The UN,
how many centuries have we been fighting in Afghanistan, Iraq? Come on, guys.
All right, well, look what you got now, Juan. You got a worldwide chaotic mess.
I would agree with that.
We have a role whether we like it or not.
Mary Catherine, Juan, thank you. Plenty more Heads the Factor moves along this evening. Waters and Earth Day. What more do we need? Jesse has some interesting interviews this evening. Also, Megyn Kelly on a police officer failing to shoot a murder suspect and a big flag controversy in Georgia. We hope you stay tuned for the